When you've been making games as long as Call of Duty has, you're bound to end up with titles that end up all over the spectrum of opinion. You might make a masterpiece, or something that's just okay, or maybe you'll make something so offensive, people will take its very existence as an insult to their lineage. Call of Duty Ghosts is kind of hard to place on the spectrum. I've seen people saying just about everything about it. As for me, I haven't touched it since high school, but I remember thinking that it was okay. I thought the campaign was good, and the multiplayer was pretty standard. There was a lot of pressure on this game. Infinity Ward had to follow up a literal genre-defining trilogy with Modern Warfare, no big deal. And on top of that, the COD franchise as a whole was on a streak of 6 universally loved games that are considered classics all these years later. Again, no pressure. So what was next? Modern Warfare 4? Modern Warfare? Modern War 4? I mean, it could work. You could play as Price and, oh well, no, he's dead. Or Soap.
Oh no, Soap! No!
Paul Jackson. Joseph Allen.
That was no message.
What the? How did he know? Did he notice me shooting above them? Ghost? Gaz? Sandman?
Just go!
Roach?
Good. That's one less loose end.
Yuri? No! Griggs? No! Ah, shit. Okay, so it was kind of pointless to continue to the story. Almost every character who spoke even a word of dialogue in those games was dead. Any sequels would basically be starting from scratch, so at that point, why not let the Modern Warfare name go out on a high note? And that's how Ghosts was born, a new game that would once again take the Call of Duty franchise to a whole new setting. A kind of half post-apocalyptic escape from New York world. I assume that before development, someone at Infinity Ward took note of how popular Ghost was. Remember all those theory videos about how Ghost had actually survived a point-blank 50 caliber bullet to the chest, followed by being burned alive? So Infinity Ward did what all good companies do. They took something cool and milked it for all it had to offer, and they would use that milk to feed a whole new game. Yummy, yummy. And that's what led to the subject of today's videos. But once again, before we get to the topic, I'm gonna first say thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting the channel recently. Just 1 year ago, we barely hit our first 100 subs. Now, because of all you guys, we reached YouTube partners, so thank you guys so much, especially for all the really nice comments. It really does mean the world. And quick shout out to longtime audience members and just some people who have shown some real support in the comments by saying nice things. So, shout out Jappy and Subraxis, Danny Nightblade, Hans Pickle Gruber, and Ass Eating Mailman. We are now 3/4 of the way to becoming full YouTube partner, which is the last goal milestone thing that we'll have to hit. So if you want to help out, like and subscribe and comment and share and all that, it really does mean the most. But now let's get back to the video. Ghost takes a pretty novel approach by being the first COD title completely disconnected from real life and events. Black Ops was set during Vietnam, Black Ops 2 took place a few years in the future, but it was trying its best to estimate what our future would look like. Ghost is doing its own thing entirely, and the world this game takes place in has been quite different since even years before the game even starts. I'm going to do a quick rundown of the story because I'm a story guy. Even when it comes to COD, I can call it a good game as long as the campaign is good. The multiplayer, while it's fun, does mean much less to me, especially with games like these where the multiplayer is mostly dead and flooded with hackers all these years later. So now all we have left is the campaign. I can pop in Modern Warfare 2, and because that campaign is so good, I can have a great time playing it. Anyways, at the start of the story, we learn that in this timeline, the great energy-providing deserts were destroyed. The campaign never fully states what this means exactly, but it does say that this crippled the world powers that relied on them. I'm going to assume that this means Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the UAE were attacked and greatly destabilized. I don't know what destroyed means in this context, but You know, they give us oil, and we love oil. Hey, oil is awesome. Come on, Saudi government. What's a little 9/11 between friends? We can put that in the past. To take advantage of the seemingly weakened US, all of South America united under one flag, calling themselves the Federation. There was likely some kind of war that resulted in a peace treaty that was in place for some time. However, one day, the Federation launched an assault on a US space station called Odin, a station capable of firing kinetic rods in place of missiles with massive destructive power. They fired Odin, destroying several prominent US cities and turning them into craters, but the station was destroyed before the entire payload could be fired. Using the Odin strikes to weaken the US, the Federation initiated a full invasion, but were fought to a standstill. 10 years later, the US border has been completely walled off and the military is tasked with keeping a much larger force at bay. Throughout the campaign, we play as a character named Logan, accompanied by his brother David, who is nicknamed Hesh, two soldiers who are guarding the wall in Los Angeles along with their dog Riley. And yes, Riley is the best part of the campaign. Logan and David are sent to No Man's Land, a city-sized crater in California caused by one of the Odin strikes, to undergo a recon mission and help the US launch an offensive attack on the Federation. They go to San Diego, their hometown, and quickly find a Federation force led by a man named Rourke, who has a soldier in a ghost mask named Ajax held hostage. Instead of executing him, Rourke takes the soldier to a secondary location for questioning, prompting Logan and Hesh to follow them. But they're attacked by a giant pack of wolves for some reason, and two men in ghost masks emerge from the forest to save them. This is Merrick and Keegan, the soldiers that you, I guess, were sent to meet as well. I don't believe this was mentioned beforehand. Logan and Hesh are already aware of who the ghosts are. In fact, this game opens up with Elias telling them the story of how the ghosts came to be. I don't think I mentioned this, but Elias is their father. He's voiced by Stephen Lang. And according to this story, once, an unknown amount of years ago, a group of 60 U.S. Special Forces operatives were sent to protect a civilian hospital in an unnamed country from an unidentified force of like 500 guys. After 3 days, there were only 15 Special Forces guys left, so they decided to have one of their guys take the civilians to safety while they stayed behind to fend off another attack. The 14 survivors hid under the bodies of the dead, and the blood covered them, causing the sand to stick to their bodies, making them basically invisible. We can also see that Rourke, the guy we're hunting, was one of the first ghosts. So when the enemies came to attack, presumably at least a few hundred, I'm guessing, the 14 survivors used the sand camo to kill them all with stealth.
Using stealth, their enemies couldn't defend against.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
One enemy survived, and he was so fucking traumatized when he was found a few days later, he believed the soldiers were supernatural beings and spread this like crazy myth about them being ghosts. This is a bunch of fucking ridiculous mystical bullshit. I really don't like this. And it's the opening of the game, so it starts out kind of on a bad note for me. It's fine if you like it, I guess. Okay, I don't know. I feel like people are going to argue this point with me, but I feel like it's too much for Call of Duty. Like, it feels like this dramatic fantasy story that would exist in like Lord of the Rings or something. And it makes me think of 300, a story the Spartans told way back in the olden days to make themselves seem more badass, but in reality, it was a bunch of nonsense. Propaganda, I mean, it's nothing new. People have been doing it for centuries, but I don't think this is meant to be a fictional or exaggerated story. I think Ghost wants you to take this as the actual canon origin. Call of Duty is supposed to be kind of gritty and mostly grounded in a plausible reality. Taking a story this absurd and placing it in the COD universe just makes it feel very corny and forced. And I'm fine with corny stuff. I love fantasy and sci-fi and all that. I love Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Those are my favorite movies and books and all that. But there's just a time and a place. Again, this is just my opinion. Merrick and Keegan take you with them, and you track the Federation to a nearby stadium they're using as a base where Ajax is being interrogated. You break in to save him, but unfortunately Rourke has already killed him. Logan and Hesh return to Santa Monica, but find that it's currently under attack by Federation troops. The two try to push back the assault, but it becomes clear that the fight is already lost. Since no one has heard from their dad since the two of them landed, they go to his command post but find no sign of him. Unfortunately, the building is burning down around them, and there seems to be no way out when the roof breaks open, and Keegan and Merrick descend from a helicopter to save them again. Hesh is trying to force Merrick to land the helicopter when a mysterious unnamed ghost sits him down and tells him his father isn't back in Santa Monica, before removing his mask and revealing himself to be Elias. Somehow, Logan didn't recognize his dad's voice or even like his eyes when he was 2 inches away from him. I don't want to be mean, But the way this scene plays out, once again, feels a little silly. Like they needed a second draft. Something about it just feels a little forced and cliche. The good news is that Elias tells Logan and Hesh that they passed all his tests and they are now officially ghosts. What were the tests exactly? Who knows? Elias explains that Rourke is a former ghost, and we get a flashback level playing as Elias. 2 years before the Odin attack, the Federation was barely starting its takeover of South America. The leader of the Federation, General Almagro, was executing all US citizens in South America, and Rourke got the ghost permission to assassinate him. But I guess he went crazy and became obsessed with Almagro. We don't really get any explanation for what this means or how it manifested aside from this funny line.
But Rourke became obsessed with him. He talked of the man as if he were a bounty.
What does this even mean? What am I supposed to take away from this? I don't know, but the ghosts are deployed along with the military to Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, to eliminate Almagro. They fight their way through the city before Keegan, Elias, and Rourke end up on Almagro's escape helicopter. Elias manages to kill the general, but the helicopter crashes, causing Rourke to fall off the edge. Elias catches him, but debris prevents him from pulling Rourke up, and he has to drop him to save Keegan and himself. Rourke seems displeased by this. Like, there's something about the way this scene plays out just feels kind of off. Like, there's no honorable understanding from Rourke that his ticket is just punched and holding on will just kill his men along with him. He just dies screaming Elias's name like he's upset that he was dropped. Rourke, your massive broad shoulders aren't gonna fit.
We can't save him! Elias,
No.
we're too heavy! You gotta let him go! Elias!
But don't worry, this actually isn't what makes Rourke hate the ghost. The Federation found him and tortured him to make him turn evil and turn against his own country. You can't have both of these, it's redundant. He doesn't need double motivation. Feeling like Elias could have saved him, but dropped him anyways, causing him to turn on the ghost at work, having the Federation capture him and torture him into becoming evil also works. So why do both? Personally, I think the attempt to kill General Almagro should have failed. Rourke should have stayed behind to save his team, then been captured and corrupted. This way, there would have been some kind of mystery and tragedy to his character, like maybe he remembers the situation different due to like whatever mind games they played on him. But the way the game currently stands, he's just like, fuck you for letting me fall when you had no other choice. Also, the bad guys captured and brainwashed me and made me evil. This is made even worse when we realize that Elias and the ghosts have known of this the whole time. Logan sees someone murder Ajax, and Elias is just like, oh yeah, that's just our old buddy Rourke. He wants to kill all of us because I let him fall one time. Also, he was tortured into being evil, by the way. There's just no tension or intrigue around Rourke. It seems like he hasn't encountered Elias since Caracas, so how do they know about all the torture? Are there Rourke files you have to collect throughout the game, emails he sent to Elias updating him on his daily torture process? I don't know. Elias sends the ghost back to Caracas where it all started to find this guy who knows where Rourke sleeps.
What do you mean by that?
The team finds the target, but it turns out this was all a trap set by Rourke, who calls in expecting Elias. The idiot Hesh screams out that Rourke tried to kill his dad, which immediately gives away his identity to Rourke. Also, no, he didn't. When did Rourke try to kill Elias? Get this man off the team, he's hallucinating. Everyone manages to escape the collapsing building, and they get Rourke's coordinates off of a hard drive on their target. The ghost deployed to the Gulf of Mexico, which was not renamed to the Gulf of America in this universe, and after a large assault on Rourke's base, they managed to capture him and take him onto their plane for transport. I guess the ghosts in this universe are kind of dumb, because is this not obviously a trap to anyone else? The whole operation, the last mission, was a trap set by Rourke. Of course he wanted to be caught. The game also proceeds to copy two other movies, Mission Impossible 3 and The Dark Knight Rises, which are both great movies, so I'm not exactly complaining. Rourke's men crash the plane, leading to this mission where Logan has to use a silenced pistol and the Modern Warfare 2 heartbeat sensor to work his way through a jungle while being hunted by Federation troops. Everyone regroups and are sent on a new mission to investigate a missile launch by infiltrating a Federation base in the Andes. I will say that I do like that this campaign has a kind of contemporary heist movie kind of vibe to some of the levels. The part in Caracas has you stealthily breaking into this skyscraper office building in a large city, and this level has you stealing enemy guard uniforms, drilling into vaults, and downloading data while holding off waves of guards. It feels like kind of GTA 5-esque, which is cool for me. I really like this segment at the end where you have to try and walk your way out of the base without drawing attention to yourself, and you get to see the aftermath of your initial shootout when you walked in. There are just a bunch of alarms going off, medics are checking on survivors, dead bodies are being bagged up and carted off. It makes you feel like you actually did something and you're watching the world react to it. It's just a really cool segment in my opinion. The information Logan and the team recover from the base tips off the Ghost to a factory in Brazil that the Federation has heavily guarded. The next few missions are focused on distracting and weakening the fleet protecting the factory to allow the Ghost to infiltrate. When they do, they quickly discover the Federation is building another Odin station that they're preparing to launch. This one is smaller, but is loaded with way more kinetic missiles. Keegan, Logan, Elias, and Hesh go to one of their Vegas safe houses before a meeting to debrief the Secretary of Defense on the new Odin station, but they're quickly ambushed by Rourke and his men. Logan, Hesh, and Elias wake up tied down to chairs, and Rourke kicks off the torture festivities by shooting Logan. While he continues to taunt Elias, Logan somehow breaks out of his ropes and manages to pull Rourke's gun away. The two wrestle over it, and Rourke forces him to shoot his dad twice before knocking him to the ground and shooting Elias in the chest 3 more times. Elias tells Logan he's proud of him, and then he's shot in the head and executed. When Logan wakes up, Federation soldiers are about to kill Hesh and Keegan, but say that Rourke wants Logan brought to him alive. I don't know why he wouldn't just have taken Logan with him, or at the very least killed Hesh and Keegan. But whatever, Merrick returns and helps free the 3 of them, and they look for Riley, who fortunately is still around. However, Riley is shot immediately when trying to save Logan, and I felt way more emotion at this than when Elias was fucking murdered right in front of me. I know, maybe cheap, but I don't care about emotional manipulation with animals and shit, so this gets a pass. This is my fucking dog, and if you shoot it, you die. There are 4 massively popular movies about this. Well, with Elias dead, things aren't looking good for the Ghost. Merrick steps up to lead, but the US fleet is targeted by a full-on assault by the Federation. Logan and Hesh try to fight off the attack, but ultimately have to abandon ship and put a stop to the Odin launch. 2 teams are deployed to handle this. First, Logan and Hesh will lead a ground assault on the Odin security facility, allowing a second space team to assault the station and take over the weapon system. Logan and David successfully deactivate the defenses, but go off mission when they hear that Rourke is escaping the base via this train, like hanging train system. As they go to catch up to Rourke, the assault on the space station is a success, with the US forces capturing the station and gaining control of the weapon systems. Logan and Hesh fight through the suspended train as it speeds away from the base and catch up with Rourke in the front cab. They try to fight him, but Rourke puts a generational beatdown on them. David gives Merrick a code word, and he orders the Odin station to fire on the train, risking killing all 3 of them. The train plummets into the water as Odin proceeds to wipe out the Federation outpost. Logan shoots Rourke, then drags Hesh to the shore where they watch the Odin missiles destroy the Federation base, and that's the game. Well, except for this ending scene that picks up like immediately where the last one ended. I don't know why it's an after credits scene, but Rourke is alive. And with Logan and Hesh still on the beach, he beats the shit out of Logan, but since he's a silent protagonist, he can't call for help, and Hesh doesn't even notice. Instead of killing either of them, Rourke drags Logan away, promising to break him and turn him against the Ghost, while Hesh just cries out your name, and that's the story of Call of Duty Ghost. Off the top, I think the story needed to ditch the silent protagonist angle. Somehow Infinity Ward misunderstood the design purpose of having that. It's meant to immerse you in the game so you can imagine that you're the person in the story. Soap is a great example of this because in Modern Warfare, he wasn't a character, he was just a nickname that held your gun. You can imagine that you're Soap because that's not a real name. Logan is a name, and it's not mine. Soap has no family or friends or personal connection to any of the events. Logan has a brother and a father and watches his father get executed in front of him and has no reaction. This becomes immersion breaking when Brandon Routh is acting his fucking ass off in that very same scene. This just, it isn't immersive, it's distracting because I'm watching Elias get murdered, but all I can picture in my head is Logan mogging him as he dies.
Yeah, and he's gonna get to watch you die. I'll kill you, son of a bitch! I'm gonna kill you! I'm proud
Call of Duty is a series overflowing with characters. You have your main characters like Price or Hudson. They talk a lot and are integral to the story as a whole. Then you have your side characters, guys who are generally there to round out the team. I think Gaz is a good example, or even Weaver in Black Ops 1. These characters are not bad, they are just less of a presence in the story. In the original Modern Warfare 2, Ghost was a side character. He appeared in like 3 levels and had about 5 lines of dialogue. Under most circumstances, he shouldn't have been very memorable, or much less a fan favorite. But Infinity Ward decided to give him a skull mask. Not exactly revolutionary, but it was just so fucking cool, and it made him stand out in the group because no one else had one. He had one unique element that made him memorable. But the character became so popular, they decided the best idea would be to flood the market with him. Now his gimmick isn't unique at all, so it can't stand out. Everyone in this game is a grizzled, silent badass in a skull mask. At one point in the game, Rourke refers to Keegan as the quiet one of the group, and I audibly had to ask if that was actually a trait that was unique to him, because I feel like that describes everyone in this game.
You're awake. Good. Nice to have the family back together, isn't it?
It is.
We're just missing our quiet friend. Where's Keegan?
You know
Is
I'm
that
not
Keegan's
telling you a
personality
damn
trait? That he's the
No.
quiet one?
Let's see if
Couldn't
I
tell
can
you.
change your...
On top of that, I cannot tell the difference between Merrick and Keegan. In fact, throughout the script, whenever I had to write down one of their names, I just randomly picked one. There are scenes where I said that Keegan did something, but it could be possible that I was supposed to say Merrick. They are that interchangeable. Infinity Ward's obsession with the character of Ghost becomes extremely distracting, and it just pulls me out of the game. I think a terrible offender of this is the Modern Warfare 2 reboot in 2022. Towards the end of that game, Task Force 141 decides to rebrand and don the Ghost mask. Every single one. This is clearly a decision that was made to get a 2022 Oscars audience cheer moment from the players. When I saw this scene, it did not feel like a natural choice the characters were making. All I could see was the studio heads coming up with a way to do some like fan-pleasing key jangling. I mean, it's not like Ghost died and they were doing it to honor his sacrifice or something. He was in the room with them, but that's a different game. We'll talk about it another day. Mini tangent over. Despite the story of this game being kind of subpar, I think the future of COD could lie in Ghost. Time has been kind to this game. A lot of the community has softened up to it, especially after recent developments with the series. And it's clear that Activision just wants to mine their recognizable IPs and make endless sequels. And honestly, I don't ever want to hear the names Black Ops 8 or Modern Warfare 5. We're already getting Modern Warfare 4, they should just end it there. So I think Ghost might be a solid pick to go back to, because even though things were mishandled, there was some potential there. I don't like saying this because it's cheap and probably bad for the industry, but you really could lean into the nostalgic here. Every male in the 25 to 35 age bracket definitely remembers the Ghost advertising campaign. If you don't have violent flashbacks to the trailers for this game with that Eminem survival song whenever this game is brought up, I don't trust you. I don't know who you are. They could also resolve this cliffhanger. It's been over 10 years since Ghost, and it's notable for being the only COD to end on a never resolved cliffhanger. On top of that, a lot of the audience is around my age and played this game at a pretty formative time. Despite all my criticism, I'd be happy to see a follow-up if the game was good. I also think they're set up for a potentially really cool story. If they do make a Ghost 2, the game should be split up into 2 halves. Half of the game you should play as brainwashed Logan, who's been turned evil and trying to hunt the Ghost with Rourke, and the other half should have you play as Hesh going on a mission with the Ghost to rescue his brother. This would be the first time in COD history, to my knowledge, where you get to extensively play as a villain, and give Logan an actual voice actor, and you can make a cool story in a post-apocalypse where there's a larger mission both sides are working towards, but also a secondary objective to save Logan. You could have it so that he just doesn't even remember the first, events of the first game. He could literally be like the Winter Soldier in Captain America. That just sounds cool to me. You can also give Merrick and Keegan personalities. You can do the Black Ops 2 thing where decisions you make throughout the story can lead to new endings. I'm handing you a winner here, Activision. The reality is that we're kind of trapped in this never-ending loop with COD. It's a good franchise. It becomes stale. We get a game that's so widely hated they decide to go back to basics. People really like it. Things go off the rails again. They make a game that's so bad the hate is inescapable. Repeat. Everyone sees the problem. They're trying to get as much profit for as little effort as possible. And sure, maybe it's too late. Even now, the identity between titles is getting blurrier with every release. They'll have the same UI, the same game modes, the same operator selection, the same store. They all launch from the same goddamn app. So the franchise may be dead. The rot may have spread too far. But who knows? Maybe let's just be optimistic, I guess. Anyways, that's gonna be it for me. Once again, thanks for watching, and goodbye.